Okay, so we will be going to see the second one of the database objects today. Okay, so I was talking about these types here. So we will see the table types. So what is table type? What is the applications? How to use that? Okay, and why we use those table types. So that details we will see. So where that table types will be available, right? So our database objects will be there under this particular database like tables, views. If you go into the programmabilities, you will see the procedures, functions, right? Then you will see the triggers as well if there are any triggers and all. Okay, so this assemblies also some kind of objects we are having rules. Okay, but yeah, those are not having much use cases. Okay, those are like near about never used objects we are having. But one database object we are having, which we need to use sometimes, okay, where we are having the requirement to insert the bulk data. Okay, so this types is one of the database object. So this is what this types. So these types are also called as a user-defined table types. If you go inside the types folder, you will see there are different types we are having. User-defined data types, okay, system data types, user-defined types. Okay, so in that for SQL Server for bulk insert, we will use this option for user defined table types. So what is those user defined table types? That is what here I have defined. So UDDT, which is nothing but user defined table types. Okay, in SQL Server will allow you to define a custom table structure that you can use as a parameter to store procedure or function. Okay, so see the difference here. Normally, when you create any stored procedure, what you will do is you will create a scalar parameter. Scalar parameter in the sense it will be like a simple uh, single parameter. Like let's say you are having a create procedure to get or maybe say yeah, get employee details. Okay, so you have created this procedure. What you will do is you will take some input parameter. Okay, you are having employee ID integer or maybe salary. Okay, so based on the employee ID and salary, you are going to extract the data. Then as begin whatever the logic, and then we are having end. So this is how you create the procedure. So if you see the input parameters here, okay, the input parameters defined here are the individual. Okay, those are the scalar input parameter. What like this each parameter hold a single value. Okay, when I say single value, it will like we will be able to pass the value as a maybe one, okay, or maybe 2000 like this, right? So when you are executing the procedure, what you will do is execute procedure and you will pass the value like this. Okay, so it will be either single values, okay, or maybe null you will pass. What if I want to pass the multiple values at the same time? So I want to see the data for the employee ID 1 and 2000 salary, employee ID 2 and 3000 salary, employee ID 3 and 4000 salary, right? So in this case, one option we are having to execute the procedure multiple times, right? So you will get the required details. Okay, but I don't want this. I want to have this data to be passed in form of table. Okay, so I want to pass the multiple rows here 1000, employee ID 2, 2000, employee ID 3, 3000, and so on. So there may be like multiple rows we will be having, which we are going to pass for that input parameter. So in this case, we go with user defined table types. Okay, so here what simply we are doing, we are passing this table as a data type. Okay, this is a table. Why we are calling this as a table? It is having a multiple rows, okay, that we are passing as an input parameter. It can be a single column, it can be a multiple column as well, but we are having more than one row. Okay, that's the reason we are calling this as a table. So this user defined table types will allow you to define a custom table structure that you can use as a parameter to the stored procedure or function. So this can be used for, as a parameter for stored procedure or function as well. Okay. So why use a table type? So the main use is to pass a table, multiple rows as a parameter to a stored procedure or function. Okay, so this is the important or main use case we are having for this table type. So whenever there is a need to pass the entire table as an input parameter, we will go with a table type as an input parameter. Okay, so this will improve the performance over looping or multiple calls. So you have seen here. So if I want to do this for 2, 3 rows, okay, I have to do the multiple calls here. Or maybe I need to use some loops like a while loop. Okay, if else. So that kind of condition we need to use. So that is also avoided here. Then it will enable the bulk inserts, updates, or filtering in a single call. So basically, if we have to do the inserts, update, or selects for the multiple rows, we can do that using a single call as well. Okay, so we will see how to create this and how to use this. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is I'll just create one table first. Okay, so the table is having 4 columns: employee ID, employee name, department, and salary. Okay, here it is. Sorry. Okay, so I will drop the table first if it is existing, and I will create a new table with these 5 columns: employee ID, which is identity, employee name, department, salary, and created date, which is a date time. So I will add this as well. Default. Okay, default get date. So let's create this table. Okay, so I need to insert the data into this employee table using a stored procedure. So normally, okay, how we will create a procedure. So this is how you normally create a procedure. Is it right? Let's say I want to insert the data into this 4 columns, 5 columns. That means in this employee table. Okay, so how you will create a procedure? You will create a procedure with input parameters, right? So here employee ID, I will just comment it out because we are having this identity column. Okay, so I will create a procedure with input parameters like employee name, department, salary. Okay, and I will write a insert statement, uh, db.employee, employee ID. Okay, I will remove this column because this is an identity. Then employee name, department, salary, created date as well I will remove because it will take the default date. Okay, I hope you got this procedure, which is a simple insert statement, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
So we will create a procedure normally. Okay, and if I want to insert the data one by one, okay, so what you will do is you will do the multiple calls for that procedure, right? So you will have 3 parameters passed: employee name, department, and salary, and you will insert the data. Okay, so let's say I'm inserting first record. It will insert the first record with employee ID as a tail, right? Then so on, second, third, fourth, and so on. So like this, it will insert the record. Okay. Now let's say I don't want to do this for one by one. I want to pass multiple values as a input parameter. and load the data. So for that, we will use the table type as an input parameter. Okay, so for that, first, let's see how to create a table type. Okay, so this is a normal syntax we are having for creating a table type. Okay, this is what we have defined here. It will allow you to define a custom table structure. So when I say it is allowing us to create a custom table structure, okay, so the syntax will be near about same as creating a table, because it is allowing us, like, we are simply defining a custom table structure, and that table structure will be passed as a input parameter. So we need to define a table structure, okay, uh, as an input parameter. So the syntax will be like this. If I right click on this user defined table types and click on new user defined table type, okay, it will create a sample sample structure for creating this user defined table types. Okay, if you see, okay, so if you see here, create type, right? Then schema name. Okay, then DBO, like, which is a schema. Yeah, this is the schema name we will be having, which may be DBO or any other schema. And then we are having the type name. So we have to give the type name here. Okay, only difference here is we have to mention as table. Okay, because this will be considered as table. And later on, it will be same as what we are defining for the table, like data column name and data type, column name and data type. Okay, so same way I have created one table type here. So here also we are having a syntax create type. Okay, normally any new object we are creating, we will use the create command, right? DDL command. So for table creation we use the table, for procedure we use the procedure. So here we are creating a type. So create type schema name dot type name. So what is the name of type we are having? So every object should have a unique name. So same way we have to give the name to the type as well. Okay. Then we need to specify as table keyword. Okay. So this, whatever object we are creating, okay, this is going to be used as a table. Okay. Though this is type, we are going to use this as table. That is what it means. Okay. So create type schema name dot type name as table, open bracket, column 1 data type, comma column 2 data type, comma column 3, and so on. Okay, so whatever number of columns you are needed, you can add here. Okay, so same way I have created the type for our example. So we are going to insert the data into this employee table using the table type. So for that, I will create a table type. I will remove this employee ID. It is an identity. Okay, so I'm going to create a type with 3 columns: employee name, department, and salary. So same way, create type dbo dot employee type. So I'm giving the name here. Normally, it is what we can say. It will be given the name like this as well, user defined table type. Okay, employee UDDT, so that we can identify this is the uh, this is the table type, user defined table type. Okay, so create type employee UDDT as table, open bracket, first column data type, comma second column data type, and third column data type. So in this way we will create our table type. So currently, if you see, we don't have any table types under this folder. So once I create this and now refresh it here, you will see one user defined table type is created here. Okay, what is the columns we are having, that also we can see. So we are having 3 columns. Okay, there are no primary keys, no constraints. No indexes. Okay, so nothing is there on this table. Only we are having a simple table type with three columns. Okay. Now, let's say we have created this table type. Now, how to use that for passing the multiple rows as an input parameter? Okay, so when we are using this table type as an input parameter, we need to make sure, let's say when we are passing multiple values. Okay, now before passing multiple values, we are saying here, if we are passing the single values, we are giving as it is the input parameter values. When we are trying to pass the multiple values, okay, that we cannot do with a single execution call. Let's say I need to insert. This is the first row. Okay, and then immediately this is a second row. Okay, or immediately this is a third row. Using a single execution call, we cannot do that. We cannot execute the procedure. It will say like procedure or function employee insert employees has too many arguments specified. So we cannot do like this. For this, we need to pass the data in a tabular format. So this is first row, this is second row, and this is third row. Okay, so three rows we are having, we need to pass this, but simply we cannot use like this, right? Because it will say like there are multiple values provided, okay, for the given procedure. Okay, so there is a one way, okay, there is one standard way to use the table type. Okay, so let's say I'm creating a procedure now with a table type as an input parameter. Okay, so when we are using table type as an input parameter, we don't need to use the individual input parameters now. Okay, so this is the procedure. What I will do is the same procedure, one procedure we are having with individual input parameter. I will create another procedure. Okay, and now this time I'm giving the name as a bulk insert employees. Okay, so this is a simple name I'm giving to this procedure. Okay, now we need to define a parameter. So parameter, when we are defining, okay, if you see, I'm defining one parameter here. The parameter name is employee table. Okay, and after parameter, what usually we will give here?
After parameter, usually we give data type.
Right.
Data type,
So
but
after
you would
parameter, we will
never.
give usually a data type. So here in this particular case, I am using the data type as the table type, whatever we have created. User defined table types. Okay, so if you see here, I am using the user defined table type as a data type here. Okay, because for this particular variable, we don't have any specific our traditional data types like varchar, integer, or something like this. Okay, for this particular, we are using table type as an data type. Okay, and then I'm specifying the keyword as a read only here. Okay, why we are using read only, that I will talk later. But we are using the table type, whatever we have created, that as an data type for the this variable, this parameter, input parameter. Okay, now how to use this? So normally when we are having this table type as an input parameter, okay, we have to take the data from this table type while inserting, updating, or whatever logic you are having. So create table, create procedure, procedure name, input parameter with a table type as an data type, and then read only keyword as begin, then insert into employee. Okay, then whatever the columns we are having, those column name we have to mention, and select the now we don't have this column into our data type. Even we don't have the get date. We don't need the get date as well because that is a default. So I will remove those columns. Okay, now let's say, so same in same way, I am having a insert statement, insert into employees. Okay, and there are three columns: employee name, salary, department. Right? So we are having three fields here that we will use for the insert. Okay, now insert into select. You know insert into select statement,
Yeah.
right? So if I want to insert the data from one table to another table, I will use the insert into select, right? So
Right.
same way, we are using insert into statement, okay, into employee table by selecting the data. Now from where we are selecting the data? We are selecting the data from this variable. Okay, and it can have multiple rows because it is a user defined table types as an input parameter. So it is, the structure is like in a tabular format. So I'm selecting the data from this user defined table types. If you don't want to use the select, we can use the values keyword as well. Okay, directly you can use the values from this table as well, but it is always better to have the select statement because it will be more good and more readable query you will look like. Okay, so select data from this employee table because it is having a tabular data. It may have multiple rows. Okay, so in this way, we will create a stored procedure to load the multiple rows uh, with a single execution call. Okay, so the procedure is created. Now, how to use that? Okay, one by one we are going. We have seen first how to create a table type. Okay, then the second step is how to create a procedure with the table type as an input parameter. Now, third is how to use that. Okay, how to use that. So for using this table type, again, there is we cannot directly go with a traditional execution call. So in traditional, what we will do is we will write an execution call. We will pass the value. Okay. Here we are not able, we will not be able to pass directly like this because there will be a multiple rows. Okay, that needs to be passed. So there is a separate method we are having for that. So for that, first we need to declare and populate the table type variable. Okay, so first we need to declare and populate the data into that table type. Okay, so for that I have declared one variable. Maybe I will just say new employees. Okay, and the data type of that variable is again a user defined table type. Okay, now we need to insert the data first into this variable. Okay, so I'll insert the data into this variable. Okay, so there are three new employees I'm having that I'm inserting into this new variable of table type. Okay, and then fourth step is like now we are going to call that stored procedure. So calling the procedure is having simple step: execute, name of the procedure, and whatever the input parameter we are having. So that input parameter is employee table, and what values we are passing? We are passing the values from this declared variable. Okay, so if now I will execute only this, okay, it will say like must declare the scalar variable new employees. Okay, so whatever the values we are passing, I will just remove this. New employees value we are passing. Okay, so that needs to be declared first. So execution call will not be only the execute statement. We have to execute the procedure from declare, insert, and then execute. Okay, so currently if you see there are four employees. If I do this execution, the three new employees will be inserted. You will see here three rows affected, three rows affected. Okay, so if I select the data now, I will see there are three new employees that has been inserted at 5:32 just now. Okay, so like this, the multiple rows will be inserted at a same time. Okay, now the question is whether we can see the data from this, because when we executed the procedure, okay, let's say I'm just changing this some of the employees name here. I will just and then okay, I'm just changing the three employees again and I'm executing it once again. So three more rows will be inserted. Now you will see there is a two different messages, three rows affected, three rows affected. Okay, why this is? So first three rows affected, this message is for we have successfully inserted the data into this variable. Okay, this table type variable. And then second is second three rows affected is for our main table insert. So can we read the data from this table type? So now if I select the data from this table type, select start from this variable. So it will simply say like it is not a valid, or it will say like must declare the variable. Okay, so we have to declare the variable. So what if I select the data from this UDDT, use this table type. Here also it will say invalid object name. Though we have that object present, it is saying invalid object name. Okay, so that's the reason we are saying these table types are read-only objects. Okay, we will not be able to read the data outside the stored procedure from these table types. Okay, that is the reason we need to specify the read-only keyword. Okay, what if I will modify the procedure here? This is the procedure we are having, right? So what if I will modify the procedure here to have one select statement as well, and I'm selecting the data from this table type variable, which is nothing but from this user-defined table type. Okay, I will just modify this procedure or alter procedure. So now in the procedure, I'm having two statements. One is insert and then select from the this variable. So we will be able to see the new employees. Okay. So I'll remove one of the employees. Just I will take two rows. Okay. So now if I execute the procedure, okay, I should see the new employees as well. Okay. You can see here the result is I am able to see the two employees that is being inserted into this new employees table type, right? So these user defined table types are read only, and we will be able to take only read the data from that table type within the procedure only. Okay, outside the procedure, we will not be able to see the data. Okay, even that user defined table types will not be able to hold the data outside the procedure. Okay, that is being used and populated within the stored procedure only. Okay.
Yes, how can we insert the large amount of data in this one? It's all similar process.
Right. It will be all similar procedure only.
Okay, this is small data, it's okay. We can do easily, but a large volume of data, that's it's difficult here.
So normally this will be used with some packages, SSIS packages, okay. So that is how it will be used. Maybe if you have to load the Excel file, okay. And if you have to use some text file, CSV file where we are having multiple rows, okay, and you don't have to what is like you are not able to create the SSS package, right? So you don't have your organization is not using the Visual Studio. So how to load that data using the user defined table types? So normally the files whatever we are having, right? So that will be mapped to some APIs, like API we will be having, right? That will be tagged to the front end applications. So from the front ends, the APIs will be called, which will read the data from the Excel, and it will load into the table types automatically. And from the table type, then within the procedure, we will utilize that data to insert or update whatever we need to do. So majorly this will be used if your organization is not having the Visual Studio or they are not using the SSIs anywhere, okay, for the project, and they are having some API calls, they are having some front end tools that they will be using to load the data. So that time the application of this user defined table type is okay, practical application I'm saying. But if your organization is having the Visual Studio and SSIs they are using, ETL processes they are using, so maybe it will be better to go with a package to read the Excel file data which is in tabular format. Okay, so that we can easily load that data to the SQL server.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
Could you explain 67 line? 67, why are we using, instead of using data type, why we are using employee UDTT?
Right. So this user defined table types, whatever we have created. Okay. So what we are saying for the definition of this, okay. So how we are defining? So we are saying a user defined table type in SQL Server allow you to define a custom table structure. So first we have defined a custom table structure. This is a custom table structure we have defined. Now it is saying like that table structure. Okay, whatever we have defined, that table structure you can use as a parameter to the stored procedure or function. Okay,
sir.
so this whatever table structure we have created that will be used as a parameter. Okay, so that will be used as a data type for the parameter of the stored procedure. That's the reason we are using this UDDT here as a data type. So what is the data type of this variable or the input parameter? The data type is this table type. So when we say this is the data type, okay, so in the employee table input parameter, we can pass the values for multiple rows, okay, and 3 columns. That means within a single parameter, we are going to pass the table itself. Okay, if we are not having this as a data type, we need to define something like integer, varchar, and in that case, we will be able to pass only a single value for that parameter, right? It will not be like, let's say I want to insert 2 employees like Raj and Mahesh. I will not be able to do that within a single call, right? So two values we cannot pass into this single parameter, right? So that's the reason we are using that table type as an data type for that input parameter. And
Okay,
that to read only because we will not be able to see the data outside the contents of this procedure.
understood.
Don't we do the declare unstored procedure also? It's like no, instead of creating user defined. I think we did while creating store procedure. I think we did declare that time, or maybe I was confused.
While executing, we do that. Okay. While executing the procedure, we need to declare it, insert the data into the table type variable, and then use that table type variable to load the data. Okay. So
Not with
this will be
inserting.
same. Yeah, this will be same as like if you are using the table type variable. Like within a procedure, if you have seen, do you know about the table type variable?
No, sir.
Oh, yeah, we just knew now. We
No,
didn't
no.
know
I mean,
before.
this is during the procedure, also we can have the table type variable as well. Okay, but that we cannot use as a input parameters. Okay, normally when we are creating a any procedure, Okay, and I'm having only two procedures. Any procedure I'm having anywhere. Okay, I don't have. Let's say I want to use this in this procedure. I wanted to use the get date for the this created date. Okay, let's say I don't have this default value here and I want to insert that get date into the created date time. So normally what you will do is you will use the create you will use the column name here, create date. Okay, and for that column name you will pass the value. Okay, but your organization says what your organization standard is, we don't have to use the values like this anywhere. Okay, everything should be like parameterized. Okay, it should be coming from parameters variables. They don't want the values like this, any hard-coded values and all. Okay, so not what normally you will do is within the procedure, you will declare a local variable. Declare at the rate, let's say create date. Okay, and its data type will be date time, and you can set the value for that. Okay, so create date is equal to get date. Okay, now instead of this get date, what we can use is we can use this local variable that we have created. Okay, so what value will be being inserted into this created date time? It will be inserted this value. So similar to this, there will be many places where we'll be using the local variables. Okay, we are selecting the or we are setting the value. Maybe it will be taken from any table, or it will be defined any defined value. Okay, hard coded value, and that variable will be using in our procedure for insert, update, select, whatever. Okay, so this is a local variable. Okay, this is a single value variable we are having. What if I wanted to use this as a table type? Let's say I wanted to see first the data from this table. Okay, select star from this employee table. Okay, so we are having this data here in this table, and we see there are like almost 12 rows we are having. Okay, so these 12 rows I want to see, I want to take into one of the table. Let's say, so what you will do is you will just go with either temporary table, whether temporary table is, do you know or not?
We have heard
Yeah,
some before.
We learn, I think.
Okay.
But we have forgot.
Mm.
Okay, so temporary table is again one of the table we are having. Okay, that will be created temporarily. Okay, for that particular query window only. That will not be no longer available once the query window is closed. So to store the data temporarily, we will use that. Okay, so same way, we can use a table variable as well to store the data for temporary period. Okay, and for that we are having a syntax declare. So I'm declaring one variable called table. Now I want to use this variable as a table. So I need to specify the table here. And then I need to define the structure of that variable. So here I can define like employee name, which is a varchar 20. Okay, then we have the department. Again, this is a varchar 10 something. And then we have the salary, which is an integer. Okay, so we can use the variable as well as a table, and it will be near about similar to the temporary table. This will be available only within the procedure. Okay, but using this table variable is not possible as an input parameter. Okay, we can use this table variable within a procedure. We can create this, and now let's say I want to uh, do some operations on this table type. So first I need to do the calculations, whatever data we are getting. Okay, so first I need to see, or I need to insert the data from the employee table into this variable. Okay, so in this variable, how many columns we are having? We are having three columns: employee name, department, salary. Okay, so this I need to insert, uh, like in these columns, I need to insert the data by selecting the data from the employee table. What columns? Employee name, department, and salary. I'm just taking a simple like example. Okay, it is not having any logic here, but yeah, what I'm trying to say here is there is one more database object we are having, which is a table variable that also can be used to save the tabular data. Okay, so this is also a useful within a stored procedure only, but this cannot be used as a input parameter. Okay, even we will be having a temporary table as well. Let's say I'm having this select statement and I'm inserting the data into a temporary table. Okay, employee. So with this, what will happen is we will create a new table employee and insert the data from this employee table into the temporary table. So everywhere we are storing the tabular data. Okay, but that is within the stored procedure only. Okay, so there are multiple options. When to use the table variable, when to use the temporary table, when to use the common table expressions, CTEs. Okay, so that all we need to decide as a developer. Okay, we can use all these options, but if you want to use the table as an input parameter, there is only one option, which is user defined table types, that is used for uh, passing the table as an input parameter for the stored procedure. Okay, so this declare, what the question we were having is whether we can do this declare within the stored procedures. Okay, so that we cannot do. So this is the standard way to execute the procedure using the table type as an input parameter. If you are using table type as an input parameter, we need to define the structure. Sorry, we need to define a variable. We need to insert the data into that variable and then use that variable into the execution call. Okay.
Sir, I just
Okay.
have one more question. Is there any sort of standard as to what use cases we use specifically for CTE, we use specifically for the user-defined table type and the table variable is like, so you said we use the user-defined table type especially for the insert statements, right? Is there any such like special standard use cases for the table variable and CTEs?
See, table variable, CTE, and temporary table, these three are the alternatives for each other. Okay, all are used for storing the data for temporary period. Okay, and the application of all of this depends on the data you are processing. Okay, that means the volume of the data. So temporary tables are more beneficial if your data is huge. Okay, that means you are having around millions of records. You need to read it. You need to do some calculations. Okay, and then finally you need to extract or do some like minor updates for that data. Okay, so you will go with a temporary table. Why it is like that? Because on temporary tables, we can create all the things that we will be able to create on a normal table, which is nothing but we can create the constraints, we can add the indexes, we can add the columns later on once the table is created, temporary table. Okay, we can add the columns using alter table like that. But once this, okay, I have removed that table variable, but within the table variable that is not possible. Okay, once the table variable structure is defined, okay, we cannot add the column using the alter command. Okay, and this will be used, this table variables will be more suitable for small volume of data. I will just write some notes down here when to use all those things. Okay, so we are having these three things: temporary table, table variable, and CTE, right? Which is nothing but the common table expression. Okay, so these three are the things we are having which are alternative to each other. Okay.
Quick question here. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Aren't those like temp table and CT are same?
Yeah, if you see the application, those are same, like the use cases. Use cases in the sense main use. Why we use the CTE? Or what is the definition of the CTE?
I think it is used to, calculate the values so that we can use it in our other queries.
Right. We can use that data, whatever we have taken into the CTE, we can use that data in the next statements, right?
Right. Mhm.
But how many times we can use that?
Only once.
Right. So once the CTE is defined, we can use that CTE in the next statement immediately, right?
Right.
After the declaration. So
Uh-huh.
that is the limitation of the CTE. Okay. So if you have to use the CTE, okay, if you are using CTE and you know, like I want to use the data, okay, the filtered data only once in the next, maybe select, insert, or update or delete statement. Okay,
Mhm.
so that you can go in that time, you can go with the CT, because I know I don't have any application later on for that data. I want to use that only once. So you can go with the CT for that case. Okay, now if let's say you have to use that data in the next multiple statements. Okay, like let's say you are having update, you are having insert, you are having delete, and whatever the data you have taken from this table, let's say use the same table here. Okay, so select from, we are having, let's say, employee name, department, salary. Okay, and you are filtering this data where employee ID between, let's say, 40 and 70. Okay, you are some filtering the data. So what, with the CT, what you will do is you will take the data into this CT with CT as, right?
Mhm.
And you will just close these brackets. Like this, you will define a CT. Okay. Now, whatever the data you are getting into the from this select statement, that can be utilized in the next statement, like from the CT. Okay.
Right.
If I'm using this uh, CT once again, let's say now I need to insert the data into, or maybe I will just need to update the employee table. Okay, and whatever the employees we got from the CT, so that employees, I need to update the data for the salary. I need to have the unique salary for all those employees. Okay, so I need to update this employee table. Okay, by joining with employee ID, I will take the employee ID as well here. By joining with this CT, I need to update this employee table. Update E from employees, join CTE on E dot employee ID is equal to C dot employee ID. I will just mention the CT as a C. Okay, and set E dot salary is equal to, let's say, some default value. I will take 70,000. So for all the employees who are present into this CT, for all those employee, I need to update the salary as a 70,000. Okay, so can I use this CT now? No, we cannot use, because the CT can be used, okay, immediately after the declaration. Okay, so it is showing the data from the CT, but the update statement is failed, saying invalid object name. Okay, so CT cannot be used multiple times. Okay, it will be used only once after the declaration. Once the CT is declared, okay, that has to be used immediately after declaration. Okay, we cannot go and we cannot use that CT later on. So the application, when we say application of this CT, okay, so when there is a need to use your temporary data, your filtered data. So this is how we are filtering the data. So if you are having your query, okay, to filter the data, and that data needs to be used only once, okay, so you can go with a CTE, right? So and that is the use case, we can say. Okay, as those are like inline and single statement we'll be having. Okay, uh, or we have to use only once. So it will be always better. We have to use the CTE when the use of the data is only once. Okay, then on this CTE we cannot create the indexes. Okay, because this will be the new values every time. This select statement will may fetch the new data every time. Okay, so we cannot create the index on that. Okay, so if this select statement is giving the huge data, let's say this select statement is giving you the 10 million rows. Okay, maybe this is not having the where clause, it is having some other filter. Okay, and this select statement is having millions of rows. Okay, the data is huge. So at that time, the performance of this update statement may impact because of the huge data. Okay, that is the reason, if your data volume is very high, okay, you should always go with a temporary table. Okay, but your volume is low and you are going to use that that low volume data, filter data only once, you will go with a CD. Okay, but let's say you are having these millions of records, so you should go with a temporary table. Now, why temporary table? Because we can create the indexes on temporary table. Okay, let's say you want to add some new columns, so there also we can add some new columns as well, because this temporary table, though the name is a temporary, those will be physically created under this server, under the temporary database. Okay, so there is one system database called tempdb, and these temporary tables will be stored physically in the tempdb into the system database. Okay, so if we are having large data set, maybe millions of records, and you need to create some explicit indexes on that filtered data to speed up your queries. So you can use this temporary table instead of CTE. Okay, one more important uh, pros we can say, or the advantage we can say for the table is, you can utilize the same data repeatedly across multiple batches or large nested loops within the stored procedure or within this script. That means once this data is extracted and stored into the temporary table. Okay, for example, let's say I'm taking this data. Okay, I'm taking this data into a temporary table using select into statement. Okay. Now the data is available into the template table. Now this template table I can use into update. Okay, like this. Okay, immediately, let's say using that using that template table. Okay, using this template table, I want to delete the data from some another table. So delete from. So whatever the employees available into this template table. Okay, so all these employees I need to delete from the some different table. So we are having some. Let's say I'll use, for example, Adventure Works, Human Resource, Employee. Okay, I'm having this table, and from this table, I want to delete all the employees which are there into the template table. So I can use this uh, temporary table as well there to use this to delete the data. So the thing I'm trying to explain here is we can utilize the filtered data. You can utilize the given data set multiple times. Okay, not only once like CTE. We can use this multiple times within the batch within the query window. Okay, so we can delete the data as well. Business entity ID. Okay. Or else after update you are having some insert as well, and now you have to insert this the data from this employee table into some new table. Let's say you are having some data like deleted employee. Okay, and you need to insert the data by select start from the employee table. So this employee table we are using multiple SQL statements. Okay, so that is the use case of this template table. If your query, your SQL needs the same data to be joined or referenced into the multiple, or we can say repeatedly across multiple batches, multiple SQL statements, you can go with a temporary table. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay, sir.
the last one we are having is a table variable. Okay, again, table variable is, I was defined that here, right? You are declaring the variable as a table and then you are using that into your into batch. Okay, so the table variables are they are also having the option of indexing. We can create limited indexings on it. We can create only primary key, okay, basically on that table variable. We cannot create any other uh, indexes there. Okay, so that's the reason that table variable is based for small sets. Okay, if your data set is small, we can go with a table variable. So similar to this temporary table, we can use the table variable as well into the multiple SQL statements after declaration. But that is again within the batch only, within the procedure only. Okay, so table variable and temporary table are near about same. The difference is we are having limited options for creating indexes on a table variable. We cannot add the column explicitly later on into the table variable, but here into the temporary table we can do that. Alter table employee. Let's say you have to add some new column into this template table. Let's say is active employee. Okay, and you are defining this as a bit and default is equal to 1 like this. Okay, so you can add a new columns, you can delete the existing columns. Okay, you can perform some, you can add some indexes like that. All the things we can do similar to the our main tables. We can do everything to temp tables, but that is not possible in table variable and CTE is like a normal single statement. Okay, the scope is single statement. and that is the reason the CDs are very best for small sets of data. Okay. Sure. So this is what the table variable, temporary table, and common table expressions. Okay. Okay, then we'll back to our thing. The next thing we are going to see is a sequence. Okay, sequence is again one of the database. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so yeah, sequence. Sequence is again one of the database objects. So that will be also available under the programmability. Okay, and you will see there is a option or there is a folder for sequences. So what is sequence? So sequence is a user defined object. Okay, like table, procedure, function. So similar to that, we can define or we can create a sequence. So sequence is one of the user defined object that generates a sequence of numeric values. Okay, usually used for primary keys, IDs, or counters. Okay. So this sequence is used to generate a sequence of numeric values. In what case, what is like any other thing we are having in SQL which will generate a sequence of numeric values?
Row number.
No, row number is like just selecting the data and assigning the value. Okay, generating a sequential value like
Identity.
identity we are having, right? So identity column is also there, which will be used to generating a sequential value where we can have the start point and end point, right?
Right.
Uh, Not end point, starting value and seed value we are having, like uh, the incremental value. Okay, then there should be some difference. That's the reason we are having these two different objects. Okay, so we will see those as well. But before that, we will learn about the sequence first. Okay, so it is an object which will use to generate a sequence of numeric values. That is the definition we are having. Now, how it is different from identity and all that we will talk, but before that we will see the details about this sequence. So to create the sequence, there is again a standard syntax we are having. It is a database object, so it will be again created using the normal create statement like any other database object. Okay, so this is the normal syntax we are having. Create sequence. Okay, because we are creating a sequence. Create sequence. Then sequence should have the unique name like any other database object. Every object should have a unique name. So we are creating this sequence. Then as data type. So after the sequence name, we have to mention the as, and data type is we need to define. So this sequence is of which data type. Okay. Make sure the data type you are giving should be a numeric data type, like integer, big integer, small integer, numeric, right? Why? Because our definition says it will use to generate a sequence of numeric values. So whenever we are defining a structure of this sequence, the data type when we are mentioning, we should mention the numeric data type only. It will not accept like varchar and varchar or text, right? So those values will not be accepted here. So data type we need to define either integer, big integer, numeric, or small int, any numeric data type. Okay, then start with then start value. So we need to define the starting value. So here I will just say starting value example. Okay, I'll just say example 10 is the starting value. Okay, then increment by. So what is increment value here? Increment value is nothing but the SID. Okay, so I want to increment this value by again 10. Then maximum value or minimum value. Okay, though my starting value is 10, okay, my minimum value is 100, let's say. So from where it will start? It will start from 100. Okay, minimum value. So these are optional parameters. Okay, but these are the mandatory parameters we are having, these three. Minimum value, maximum value. So maximum value is the up to what you need to generate the values. Okay, so let's say I want to generate up to 1 lakh. Okay, that is the maximum value I'm having. Then cycle, no cycle, and cache. So we will talk about this. Cycle is nothing but, okay. So when we say cycle, normally when we have the identity column, okay. So for example, we are having this as an identity column. Let's say I'm using this identity column. So when the insert will stop, up to what time the identity will be created. Up to which record the identity value will be created. There should be some limitation. There should be some stoppage we will be having, right?
100.
No. What is the limit of records for this table? How many rows we can insert?
In or
Is there any record limit we will be having?
Yes.
So what is that?
10?
Sorry,
10?
10 you are saying?
Yes.
No.
it increased by 10. 10 means.
Yeah, identity is a separate part, but yeah, I'm saying like what will be the number of records that we can insert and at what time it will fail to insert the next record.
No idea. I should Google.
Okay, that should be fine. But yeah, you need to understand the data types for that. Okay, we are having this data type integer on this
Oh,
employee.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we have inserted into this table, we have inserted 2147. What is the range? I think 483 and 647. 10,
20.
1, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so this is the maximum limit for the integer data type,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We remember now.
So up to this, you can insert the record into this employee table. So up to this number of records, it will goes on incrementing and it will stop generation of the next identity value once it reaches to this maximum value, maximum range of this integer data type. If it was a small integer. Okay. So it will be we will be able to insert only the 256 records, which is the maximum range for the small integer data type. We cannot insert 257th record. So up to this value only identity will generate and it will stop here. There is no option to insert more records into this table until and unless you will change the data type to some bigger data types like big integer. Okay. But here in this sequence, there is an option of cycle. Okay. Let's say you are having there is no like it is the data type is maybe small integer, big integer, or something we are having. So if we are having big even the integer data type, okay, it will be like 10-digit number up to which you can insert the data, but our limit is only 1 lakh maximum value. Okay, so if you are inserting more records up to 1 lakh, it will stop generating the new this sequential value. The sequence will stop generating the value. Okay, because maximum limit is reached. But your table is having limit, okay, more than this. So what you can choose is you can choose the cycle option. So cycle option is something which will allow you to restart your sequence. Okay, so once the maximum limit is reached, again the new value will be generated is 100. Okay, again one more record is inserted, the new value will be 110 because we are incrementing by 10. New record is inserted, new value will be 120, 130, 140 and so on. Again it will reach up to 1 lakh and it will restart with 100 once again. So cycle option is something which will define your restart of the sequence, whether you want to restart or you want to stop generating the next sequence value. So when we choose the no cycle option, it will stop generating the next values. But when we have the cycle option, after reaching to the maximum value limit, the sequence will restart with the minimum value once again. That is what cycle and no cycle option. And then cache size we are having, it is similar to it is similar to refreshing, or it is similar to removing the cache from your memory. So simply if your mobile or your laptop is like giving a performance issue, so what you will do is you will remove the cache, right? You remove the caches and all, clear the caches.
Yeah.
So same way, this option will be used to remove the caches from your sequences, so that we can define as well. So if let's say after generating the 50,000 sequences, I want to remove the this caches from this sequence, so that we can define. Okay, these are the optional things we are having: cycle, no cycle, cache, cache size. Okay, even minimum value, maximum value. Those are all the optional things. If let's say I don't have the minimum value and maximum value, so what will be my minimum value and maximum value in that case? I did not define any. Now for this example, okay, here I'm creating one sequence. I don't have the minimum value, maximum value. So what will be the mean value and max value for this sequence?
So your minimum will be 1001.
Right. So minimum will be 1001. What will be the max value?
That the limit, whatever you have mentioned there.
Right. So whatever data type we have mentioned, the limit of that data type will be our max value. Okay, that's the reason these all are options are optional. Okay, these are all the parameters we are having, those are optional. Even though we are not defining it we can have the values for that minimum and maximum values. Okay, if we are having the cycle and no cycle, I think I'm not sure. By default, it will be no cycle. After generating the max limit, it will stop generating. By default is a no cycle and no cache. Okay, if we are not defining here. Okay. Okay, so let's say now this is the example to create and use a sequence. So we will see. So create sequence. This is the sequence.
I have a question on the above syntax where you have min value and then max value. So that is only for the increment, like sequencing values, and then say for example our max value limit is 100,000 there, right? So we can still insert more data, beyond that point.
Right.
Okay.
We can
But the
insert up
sequence
to
will
that
not
data
be
type. Right.
okay. And then after that, it's gonna be like 100,001.
100. No, it will be like 100 only again, because yeah,
No,
I mean,
I'm not talking about the cycle. Okay, so if there is no cycle, okay, and then our min value is 100, and then max value is 100,000. Okay, that's the limit,
so
right?
beyond this limit, it will not generate the values.
It will not generate any value at all.
Yes, it will stop
Okay.
generating the values.
Okay.
But yeah, without this particular column, let's say we are using this generated value into some of the columns. So without that column, we can insert more records, okay, into the
Right.
table as per the data type, but we will not have the value for that particular column which we are taking from this sequence, because it will
Mhm.
stop generating the value after reaching the max limit.
Okay.
And if you don't have the cycle option, right? Okay, so create sequence, name of the sequence as data type. Okay, similar to this as data type, we are giving the data type. Start with 1001 and uh increment by value also we can give here. Okay, let's say I will use this as of now, I will use this small int just to see the data. Okay, so this is a small integer I'm using, and I'm starting with, let's say, 50 and increment by 50 again. Okay, so this is how we can create a sequence. So let's execute this and you will see the sequence is created under this sequences folder here. There is one sequence we are having. Okay, if you want to script, you can script the sequence to see the definition, how it will look like. So you see here minimum and maximum value that they have taken all like as it is. Okay, so maximum value is, okay, I think I was missed. I was written somewhere 256, right? So that
That
is not the
yeah, that is for tiny int, I guess.
tiny int, right? Yeah. So yeah. So that is for tiny int. Okay, so this is the minimum value and this is the maximum value by default, and it is having default cache option. Even though I was not defined where it is, even though I have not defined that minimum, maximum, and cache. Okay, when I script that, it is having some default values here, like as per the definition of this data type and all, it will take the minimum and maximum value.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is having this. Now let's say I will use the tiny int, so that I would just wanted to see how to restart and all. 32,000 will be very much longer. So I want to change the data. So that is the only limitation. We cannot modify the syntax, this sequence. Okay, so you see here there is no option to alter. Okay,
Right.
we don't have that option to modify the sequence. What you can do is you can simply drop the sequence and then recreate the sequence with new values. That is the only option you are having. Okay, so I will drop and I will recreate with tiny. Okay, now I will just recreate with okay, now minimum maximum is the out of limit, so I will just create with this. Okay, so it is completed. Now let's remove this and refresh, and once again I will just script it. You will see now minimum is 0, maximum is 255. So like this, it will define the minimum and maximum value based on the data type that you are defining. Okay, now let's see how to use that. Okay, simply we have seen to create the sequence, we use the create keyword, create sequence, sequence name, data type, starting value and increment value. Okay, so this will create the sequence starting from 50 and increment by 50 again. Now to use the sequence, there is a syntax for, okay, so this is how we will use the sequence. Okay, use of sequence. So to use the sequence, we have to use this keyword, select next value for sequence. So if I execute this first time, what will happen? What value we will be having? We'll be having 50, right? So let's say execute, you can see 50. Once again, if I execute, what will be the next value?
100.
It will be 100 because increment by 50. Okay, so like this, every time we execute, it will generate a new value as per the definition of this sequence. Okay, what is the increment? What is the start value based on that? Okay, now you see we are reached to 250. If I execute once again, it should generate a 260, right? But it will fail. Why it will fail? Because 260 will be bigger than the limit of the tiny int, right?
Right.
The limit is up to 250, but the next value, when if I execute it, it should generate a 260, which is the maximum, which is out of range, out of like it is more than the maximum value. That is what it is saying. The sequence object has reached its minimum or maximum value. Restart the sequence object to allow new values to be generated. Okay, so if we are not mentioning the cycle option, okay, it will stop generating the values. But what if I will just say cycle? Okay, I will just create some employee sequence, new sequence I will create. Okay, so that I don't want to drop and recreate. Okay, I will just create a new sequence. And now this sequence I will use to see the values. Okay, employee sequence. Okay, it will start with 50, 100, 150, 200. Now, after 200, it will again start with 50. Okay, sorry, it is 250 was there, right? Once again, yeah. After 250, it will start with the minimum value. Okay, 0 it was started. Even though it was having start with 50, it was generated 0 as well. Okay, need to check on it. Okay, but yeah, it will restart the sequence after reaching the maximum limit. Once again it will restart. Okay, ideally it should start with minimum value, but I need to see why it is showing 0. Okay, but if you see, it will not fail. It will goes on continuous generation when we have the cycle option. Okay, now the first syntax whatever we were having, so this already has reached the limit, right? Because we have generated this up to 256, and it is reached its maximum limit. So what if I want to restart that explicitly? That means I was not created the cycle of created the sequence with cycle option, but now I wanted to restart that from the initial value. So you cannot do that using alter, because that option is not available. Okay, so to restart the sequence, we have one syntax, okay, where we can modify the sequence. Okay, so alter is not possible for changing this parameter, but alter is possible to restart the sequence, only the thing. So this is the syntax we are having: alter sequence, the sequence name, and restart with keyword we are having. So I want to restart with again 0 and execute. So this will restart the sequence. So now if I execute once again, it will start with 0, 50, 100. Okay, 150, 200, 250, and again it will fail. Okay, so if you are not having the cycle option, you can restart the sequence using explicitly alter command. Okay, and mentioning the restart value as well. Okay. Now this can be used to insert the data into the employee. Let's say I'm having this employee table data. Okay, and I want to insert the data now. I want to use this sequence to generate the employee IDs. Okay, I want to use this sequence to generate the employee IDs. I will say restart with 50. Okay, I want to use this. So how we can use? Insert into table name, column names, two columns, employee ID and employee name, and values. In the values, we can use this next value for syntax. Okay, so next value for employee ID and employee name will be Rakesh. So this will insert the first record with ID as a 50. Okay, we can see the data. Rakesh. Okay, if I change the name here, let's say I'm having some name as a John, and I will execute the insert statement once again. So what will be the employee ID for John? It will be 100, because it is taking the next value now. Okay, if I change this once again, okay, I'm taking some new name and executing once again. So it will take the next value for the sequence, which is 150, like this. Okay, so like this, we can use this sequence into insert statement as well, select statements as well. Okay, to take the data and all. Okay, so this sequence table type, cursor, those all the things we are going to use for our first procedure to load the data across the stage tables, multiple stage tables. Okay. So yeah, tomorrow we will create our first procedure and we will see. I will show you how to I will explain the logic as well. Okay, though it will be good if you will be uh, like taking initiative and explaining me or maybe thinking on how to insert the data across multiple tables. Okay, we will talk about that first and then we will create the procedure. If we will be able to figure out the logic, okay, before explaining by myself, I will have some time to discuss that with you guys. So if you give some idea, if you think on that, that will be good. Okay, because you only need to understand what should be the logic. And as a developer, our logical thinking should be good only so that we can resolve the problems, resolve the issues, and create the objects that will solve the problems of this database. Okay, so yeah, we will discuss on the first step, first procedure for loading the data across multiple stage tables. Okay, and how to utilize this sequence table types for our procedure. Okay, hope this clears. Yeah, I think that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow and we'll start with working with actual project objects.